Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me tonight on Real Talk with Jean Price. Listen, we want to thank you again for always supporting us, always logging in, always chiming in. We want you to take the time tonight to like, to share, and to comment. Tonight's topic is a really, really heavy topic. So much is going on in our world today, and this topic really kind of touches the hearts of so many across the world. And I think it's kind of good that we kind of talk about it to kind of see where you are with it. So I have a wonderful guest that's going to be joining me on tonight, and she's going to share with us, and we're going to talk about, are our kids safe? So let me bring my guest on tonight. I would like for you to take the time to help me welcome Shawna Wright to Real Talk with Jean Price. Hi, Shawna.
Hello, how are you? How are
I'm
you?
good, Shawna. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's summer.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But today to me didn't feel like that much summer. It was cool
Uh,
today. Well, listen, Shawna, we want to thank you. This is such a blessing for you to join us tonight on Real Talk. And this is a heavy conversation. But before we get started, can you kind of tell our viewing audience a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, I'm a teacher. I relocated from New York I think I've been in Florida for almost 4 years now. I started in New York in the city, teaching in the Bronx. And then in Queens, I've taught second grade, third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade. So just the elementary school ages. I think that's as far as I want to go. And then, and I was a special education teacher. And then I moved to New York. I moved to Florida. And
Mhm.
now I've been teaching general ed third grade for the past 3 years.
Wow. Um, then what happened down in Texas has really shattered, like it just kind of rocked us all. What's your reaction to that as a mother, right? And then, of course, as a teacher?
Uh, Even talking about it now,
No,
I pretty much I shed tears. I did.
I know.
It's very hurtful to talk about, and
Yeah,
it's kind of when it happened. They were saying like the kids were just having an award ceremony, and when I heard about it happening, I just finished having an award ceremony for my students, and
wow,
just thinking about all the parents who were there and all the kids, and
yeah,
somebody coming in and shooting up a school. It's very heart-wrenching, and it's scary.
it is.
And one thing in moving to Florida, because it is a gun carrying state and you're allowed to carry guns and everything like that, it hits harder, it hits home harder, because whereas in New York, that's not, you don't hear too much of that. But
Yeah,
where anybody can go and buy a gun in this state, and whereas the same thing in Texas, it's scary, and where the active threat. And it was funny because in my school we have to have these active threat trainings, these
oh,
drills that these students. And in Florida, it's taken more seriously because of what happened in Parkland, and because
yeah,
so it's literally, you will literally have to explain to these students that we literally have to evacuate,
yes.
evade, or fight.
Wow.
So it's pretty much, I just had this conversation with my students, like, if
Okay.
there's a gun, we have to run.
Yes.
If Or we hiding in a closet.
Yeah.
And then if the gunman is there, we have to grab a chair, anything to
Yeah.
fight the gunman off. So
Yes.
this is what you are teaching pre-K through fifth grade, well, all the way to high school. You are teaching these kids this, because just like what happened in Texas in elementary school, it happens.
Yeah. And I have,
And
oh, I'm sorry. No,
no,
Shauna,
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, there's nothing to apologize
Just,
for. You continue.
but and that's what it is. And when you explain to these kids, you're thinking, all of a sudden the drill goes off and they say like an active assailant is in the building, and I'm telling the kids we have to run, and we're practicing in it. They're
Right.
laughing, they're joking, they think it's funny. And because kids, they don't think that this is
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
And then when you hear about Texas, like, these kids actually you know had to deal with the active
I
shooter.
have to tell you, I'm a grandma, I have six
Mhm.
grandchildren, and you're right. I mean, we've had other shootings, which is really sad. We had the one in Connecticut years ago. Maybe what do you think about 10 years, whatever, years ago.
Yes, yes.
About my kids, Sean, my grandkids, I tell you, you are absolutely correct. It's not about not having faith or anything like that.
Mhm.
it's like, okay, my grandkids have to leave their home like those kids did. Their
Yes.
mother sends them off to school. Who would ever think in a day like today, you're wondering if your children are going to come back home?
Yes.
Like, it's just so, and then the frequency of it. Like,
Yeah.
what's your feeling on it? It's just happening too often.
It is happening too often. And I mean, I, you know, you try to replay in your mind, like, how did this happen? How did he get into the school?
Right.
Because my school's like Fort Knox. Like
Okay.
every door is locked, even the classrooms are locked. You cannot get in out of that building without a key.
Okay.
So it's like we have gates around our school. So I'm like, how did this guy get in? So, how did this happen? The police we had at my school, we had like somebody saw somebody in the woods. A kid had said
Mhm.
they saw somebody in the woods. Within 5 minutes, we had helicopters,
Mm,
cops with AKs, dogs
right.
on
Right.
site, so in Texas for it to take 90 minutes to apprehend this assailant, it's like,
Yeah.
because, I you go over it in your head, but it's just like that's what I'm saying. You pray and you send your kids to school. And even as a teacher, like as a teacher, when those kids are in your school, in your classroom, they are your kids
Your
also. They are
children.
my
That's right.
children.
That's right.
They are my children, and it's my responsibility to protect them. And those teachers who died for those kids, that's my kids even have to worry about me also, because I
Yes.
have to, it's my job as a mother,
Mhm.
as a teacher, as a parent, it's my job to protect them also.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
so I just, it's scary, and you pray that it doesn't happen, but
It is very scary. As and even as you're talking, all our kids went to with COVID. They would, homeschool with the
yeah,
remote learning and everything. It just makes you wonder, will remote learning
yeah,
come back? Not based on COVID, which was such
yes,
it just COVID was a disruptor
yes,
in this world. But now
yes.
it's like these mass shootings, to me, they're disrupting the world. So, what's your take on the fact of remote learning and like even the mental state of the children, even in your classroom? So we went from COVID mental state, now we have mass shootings. What's your,
Yes.
take on that?
Yes. So remote learning. As a teacher, I enjoyed it. I, I enjoyed it. Teaching from my
Right,
home, it was
right.
easier. you
Wow,
know, I enjoyed it. But as a parent who had kids at home on remote learning, it was hard.
I
It
can,
was hard. It
yeah,
was hard because I still had to teach them. The teacher can only do so much
okay,
online.
okay.
So I had to, not only was I working, I had to teach them.
Wow,
And
yeah.
then just the social emotional,
Mhm.
they couldn't do sports, they couldn't interact, they couldn't, so it's a lot of the social emotional, because they need that interaction, they need that friendship, they need to just be able to talk to other people besides the people in their household sometimes. And sometimes children's home life is not that good, and sometimes their escape
Mhm.
is going to school.
Right.
So you got to think about those kids who is just like, I don't get peace in my house,
Mhm.
so I get peace when I go to school, I feel safe when I go to school. So now it's like some kids, they feel safe at school, but now you some of these kids, they can't even feel safe at school anymore.
Wow, yeah. Now, based on what happened, right, with the shooting, have some of the kids expressed how they felt about what happened? Have they been able to talk about it? Is counseling set up for kids?
Well, when it happened, school
Yeah.
just ended. So when it happened, it was
Right,
kind
it
of
did
like, for me,
that.
school just ended. Like it was an
It did.
award ceremony, it was the last week of school.
Right.
So I think we had like 2 more days left. So a lot of the parents,
Yeah.
didn't send their kids to school. And, the principal kind of was like, listen, it's safe here. We actually have deputy sheriffs with like cops that with guns,
Mm,
all their gear, bullet gear, they come with, everything is on our campus all the time. So
wow.
we actually have, that's our security. So, she did make an announcement, it is safe here. And it was so funny. It was like that same day, I got an email from my kids go to high school, and they was like there was somebody threatening to come and shoot up their school. So now not only we had this happen, then there was an incident at the high school where somebody was threatening to shoot. So yeah, it's it's scary, you
It,
know, and it's scary, you know, like I am a praying mother, but we pray, we have to trust God, but this does happen.
absolutely.
It does happen. So
And even as you're talking, Shauna, I'm thinking about even what happened up in Buffalo. Like,
yes,
the young man that went in there and shot up. Oh my God, my heart broke when I saw the
yes,
people, the seniors. And then I heard that he had Hempstead. He had planned to come and shoot up two supermarkets in Hempstead. Yes, someone was.
really,
So I'm saying all that to say it's just a lot going on, and I am so concerned about our kids because they're experiencing things that you just didn't think kids would have to go through this. They have to
hmm
experience death like that, or be afraid to come to school, and they just want to come to school, they want to learn, they want to see their friends, and they want to go on a playground, and they want to play. So what
yes,
kind of changes do you think immediately that need to be done? Because you'll be going back to school, I think August, right around.
yes.
So what kind of changes? I know your school is good, but as far as other schools, what kind of changes do you think, you know, people can rally to?
The the change is just my thing is like I said, locked doors. He should not have been in the school.
Right.
I mean, there are stories, and then to me, okay, he did get in the school,
Okay.
but the cops, their response was horrible. Their response was horrible.
Right.
I just don't understand, and then they said the security officer, he didn't have his gun on, like, to me it's about everybody, no matter how much you practice a drill. So when I was in the Bronx, we always practice fire drills. We practice these drills every month. So
Mhm.
we always practice fire drills in the Bronx. So one there happened to be a fire at the school. Everything was in chaos because now it's like nobody was in place. So it's just like, so no matter how much you practice something, when something really happens, it was like, okay, where do we go? This door isn't
Right.
open. This door is locked. This door is this. Like, we're all standing out in the rain. We're soaking wet because there was a little fire in the school. So it's just a constant practice and just knowing where to go. At the end of the day, my students, they know we had to get out of the building fast and they knew where to go. Like other people, because it was in the Bronx, like we supposed to stop traffic. So cars were zipping down the road. There was nobody there to stop traffic, but the students knew what they were supposed to do. So it's just the constant practice, making sure everyone has badges and IDs. You
Mhm.
have cameras around the school. They're being watched because at times, because kids, especially in a elementary school, people don't think it happens. So you kind of get lax in
Right.
leaving the door open. You
Right.
kind of get laxed and not making sure you see somebody strange, not asking them where's their badge, where's
Right.
their ID. So to always be aware because it can happen anywhere.
Yeah. I had to pick up my grandson from school one day, Shauna, and I'm outside of the school building. They I have
Mhm.
to push a button. Have to see me on the camera, and then they say, "Hold on, we'll get him for you." So
Mhm.
even like that, I mean, they even had that security barrier in place, and I was like, "Wow, okay, that's very interesting." But again, going back to what happened in Texas, I don't know how a parent even comes to grips with that kind of loss. And they never thought about the grandmother because he shot his
Yeah.
grandmother. And the
Yes.
reason that he shot his grandmother, we're definitely living in a world where it's definitely challenging.
Yes.
Challenging, yeah. So, as far as your kids going back to school, are they going to bring that back up again, or just you just let it go because the kids have the summer to kind of, you know?
My how I do in my classroom is when I teach it, I tell them, like, even with the parkland that did happen in Florida, I
Yeah,
tell them, like, this has happened. You have to take it seriously.
right,
That's what I tell them. Like, you don't want to be, because I'm teaching 8 and 9 year olds. You don't want to tell them somebody could come into school and blow your head off. Like,
that's
you don't want to scare an 8 or 9 year old like that, but you want to scare them to know that if I tell you we have to run, you're not going to be playing around. You're not going to be sitting there waiting for your friend because you want to stand next to your friend. You're
right,
not going to be, if we have to hide in the closet, it has to be quiet. You're not going to be sitting there laughing or joking or singing or making noises, because this is what happens because they think it's a joke. So now I don't want to scare them, but I have to
right,
scare them to be like, if this it has happened. Now I can use that Texas. It Somebody did go into elementary school, and there are copycats. You
Wow.
know what I'm saying? There are copycats who feel that I want to do that too.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't like myself. I am mad at myself. So I
Right.
want to make other people feel the way that I feel. So I'm just going to pick a random school to come in and shoot people.
My Lord. And the thing, to your point, you brought up such a good point. Here he was a stranger in an elementary school. He's from a high school. And then I think if I read it right, he wasn't even from that jurisdiction. So
Hmm.
you're right, why wasn't the flag before he like walked into the school? Why wasn't there somebody to stop him? And I think that's the part that's so puzzling to me. Why wasn't there anybody to stop? Now, I know you do drills with the kids, but are there like classes or teachings or training that you all get as teachers? Just you all alone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we
Okay.
always get, yes, we do get training and
Okay.
everything like that, what to do, what to say. We get videos and everything like that to show the kids, to help the kids, to talk the kids. And probably since this happened in Texas, like my first week back to school, it's probably going to be hitting that really heavy in regards to that. And usually happens at the end of the school year and the beginning of the school year. People threaten to shoot schools anyway. So that's when it's really, yeah, because then it's not only trying to protect myself and the students, then I have to answer to parents too, because parents are contacting me telling me, is my kid going to be safe? Is the school safe? Are they going to be all right? So not only have to reassure the kids, I have to reassure the parents also.
Absolutely. How did your children, knowing that you're a teacher, of course, how did your children react to it?
They were upset about it. They were upset about it. I think that, sometimes what kids are, what I realize it, if it doesn't, people in general, if it's not in my neighborhood, I kind of just don't think about it. And
Right.
I think that's what happened in Texas. It's like it's never happened here. It's not going to happen here. So they kind of got lax. And, you kind of will open the door for people because you think they're just coming in.
Right.
As sometimes in schools, you have people going in and out all the time,
Yes.
deliveries, parents coming to pick up their kids,
Mhm.
people visiting. So it's probably was out of sight. It's just, this is not going to happen here. This is not going to happen. So, and that's where I think how he was able to
Yeah.
easily get into the school and get into the classrooms because it was like, you know, you didn't think it was going to happen.
Right. Did you have people, I know it didn't happen at yours, but that's not what I mean, but did you have other people reaching out to you to check just to see if you were okay as far as having to deal? And I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, let me give you an example. In churches, right? Remember the gunman
Hmm.
walked into the church in Charleston, South Carolina, sat down,
Yes.
befriended the parishioners, you turn
Hmm.
around, he shoots them.
Yeah.
So, like, what and I keep going back to dialogue. It's like, how do we prepare ourselves? Not your teacher, we're pastors. How do we begin to prepare ourselves in a world like we're in today? Like, I don't know, outside of school, what's it like down in Florida?
That's a great question. How do you prepare?
Yeah.
You, I mean, like I said, we can prepare for a fire drill, but honestly, you don't never know what you will do
Yep.
in that situation.
True.
And you don't never think it will happen to you. But it's just, to me, it's just all about awareness.
Hmm.
So it's like I can prepare for this. I know what to do in this situation, but I hope I never have to use it. We had a cop come speak to our students one time, and he was like, "I went through all of this training, all of this schooling, everything to use my gun." He said, "In all of my 13 years, I've never had to."
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So he is prepared to use his gun, but he can't speak to that experience of
Hmm.
ever having to
Yeah.
fire his gun. So that's what I think. But I believe that if he ever had to pull it out and use it,
Right.
he knows how to use it, but
Yeah.
he's never had to. So I think that just the training and just the speaking, because it was like this little girl, the little girl who her friend was shot and she smeared blood over her. So he would think that she was dead. So to me, something in her mind had to come
Yeah.
into her mind like, I
Yeah.
need to play dead. So she had to have seen something, or somebody had to teach her something that this 10-year-old girl would know. I need to play
Right.
dead so he
That's a
won't
good
kill
point.
me.
Excellent
You
point.
know, so that's what I think it is. So if it's just preparedness and constantly talking to them,
Yeah.
it'll trigger it. Hopefully in that situation, oh, I know to trigger, I remember this, I can put this into action.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. My goodness, I didn't know that. We're going to take a
Mhm.
commercial break. We're going to come back with Shawna because we're kind of talking about our children safe. It's real. It's even now as we're talking, I just feel just kind of like it is such a heavy topic to talk about. But we'll be right back on Real Talk with Gene Price. This week on Real Talk with Gene Price.
What is
It was the first funeral almost a week after the shooting. A police escort for the family of Amory Jo Garza.
A part of Uvalde and her is just gone from my heart. It just feels horrible.
The church was full. Some people were escorted to an overflow room. They wore lavender, her favorite color. She was 10 years old, and she wanted to be an art teacher. And it's widely reported Amory had tried to call 911 for help.
Gives them a time to breathe, to cry, and to start healing.
Janice Campbell, a crisis counselor, brought her canine response team for people attending the funeral.
Why is our work important? Because things like this happen.
We spoke with Father Eduardo Morales, who will preside over 12 funerals, one a day for the next 2 weeks. The father says he'll focus on a hard concept to grasp right now: forgiveness.
It's okay to be angry. Of course we're angry. Everyone is.
He says anger can turn to hate.
I had to actually come see it for myself because I was like, how could anyone do that?
The shock behind the shooting is starting to wear off. The funerals may start the healing for some, but each service may also compound that hurt.
Now, the funeral services for Maite Rodriguez, another 10-year-old, is set for 7 o'clock tonight. Now, after tonight, there will be 19 more funerals. That's hard to imagine. Reporting live here in Uvalde, I'm Jogan Paniker.
We've been talking about are our children safe, and the catalyst of the whole thing started with the shooting in Texas, and just kind of dialogue. And I'm going to ask my guest Shawna if she would come back and join me. Heavy topic, heavy. Even watching that video, Shawna, that was a heavy clip to see. Even just watching that again, was you're right. I can see why you cry. Like it just does something. It just really, it just brings about something that is so extremely sad. And as the priest was talking, he was saying how anger turns to hate, and he was talking about forgiveness. And I of course we believe in that. But do you think that these parents are going to have a hard time getting to that point?
Of course, as a parent, it was funny. I was talking to my mom about it, and she listens to K-Joy, and
Oh,
she was saying how a parent was on TV saying that, my child is in heaven, in a better place, and the parent who had called into K-Joy was like, she goes, I believe, she goes, my faith is strong, I have a great relationship with God. She goes, but it would take me a minute to get to that point of saying, God took them away, they're in a better place. And I said, I get where that parent is coming from. It would take me a minute, to have to understand why my 8, 9, 10-year-old was taken away, shot in the face, and brutally killed like that. It would kind of, I get it. Like my faith is strong, but I was like, God, you're going to have to give me a minute. And
mm,
then
yeah,
let me digest this, let me be mad, and then so I was like, and our parents said, I was like, wow, and I get it and I agree with it, because some people can get there, but as a parent, I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine. Like I looked at my kids and I had to hug them a little tighter. They're 16, 17, and 25, but I had to hug them a little
oh
tighter.
yes, oh yes. That's it. Squeeze them a little
So
more. I understand.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Wow. I
So
also, as I watched the clip, Shauna, they showed the crisis prevention. She might have been a police officer, I'm not sure, but she had the dog that was with her.
mhm.
How therapeutic is that for students to be able to have somebody come and just talk about it, or even, just from that perspective? I know you mentioned that, a police officer came to your school, but in this season, I guess I was looking at the fact she had a dog with her, and I thought that was so great because the dog can be like a distracting in a good way. So, do you guys have that down in Florida?
Yes, we can. We have like emotional pets. So where they come in and The kids love it. The kids love it. The emotional pets, having somebody to talk to. Sometimes as 8, 9-year-olds, they just want somebody just to listen.
Yeah.
They just want somebody to tell them it's okay.
Yeah.
And, sometimes kids, they love like even emotional stuffed animals, so sometimes we give gifts or as stuffed animals, or they're allowed to bring it in. And some of them, that gives them comfort. So kids with anything, they just want to be comforted and wanted to know that it's okay. And having somebody who can speak to them on their level and who understands, yes, it does help a lot. And having a dog, oh my goodness.
Right.
Yes.
I was
Yes.
watching something today, Shawna, and this is a little off topic, but on topic. We're talking about kids. And this kid, young lady, I think it was on Jada Pickett's Red Table, but she was talking about bullying, right? And she was talking about suicide. And the reason I'm bringing it up is everything to me is trauma. Bullying is trauma. These other kids with
Yeah.
the shooting is trauma. How does your school deal with trauma? Because, and again, if I say, I don't mean to sound redundant, but it's deep. Like trauma
Yes.
to me is
Yes.
so deep. And when you peel it back, trauma
Mhm.
is an injury.
Yes.
Trauma is an injury. So even in your school, how do you guys deal with bullying for kids in school?
Well, bullying right now is very big. We had like a kindness campaign going on where we talk about it. We have like our morning meetings have to be about mindfulness and kindness. It's we have a motto that the kids have to say every day. We had like, oh my God, every kindness song you can think of that the students had to learn. But it is, and it's like they have to report it. And I tell them, even in my classroom, if somebody is bullying you, like I said, I'm the parent. When they're there, I'm their parent.
Yeah.
So I said, if somebody, and my students, I'm like, I don't play. I said, if somebody's bothering you, you let me know and I will handle it. I
Right.
tell them that. And we have we have a guidance counselor, we have counselors that come in. If somebody's bullying, if they don't want to tell anybody, it can be done anonymously. Um, it is, like I said, we have so many programs at the school. We have just kindness campaigns all the time. I think that's just kindness campaigns. And to me, it can go up and up and up and up as far as everything, yes, but it is taken very seriously, and I take it very seriously as a
Right,
teacher.
right. And I appreciate that because what happened to and it's a great school. She had alopecia. That's what
Mhm.
Jada showed. She had alopecia. The young girl lost all her hair. So her mom was on there and she was telling her story about how they would pull her wig. She finally had to get a wig. And how at that point, she got to the point where she just couldn't take it anymore. And she committed suicide.
Oh my goodness.
I think she was between 10 and 12. So I'm
Oh my
saying,
God.
I know it's so much going on with our children in grade school,
Mhm.
elementary schools, from bullying to suicide to shootings to trauma. How
Mhm.
do we recover? How,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
what can teachers do? Can you get like somebody in New York? Like, how do we get together, churches, schools, whatever, and really do something about this? What can we do?
Yes. And that's what it is. It's that we need to do something. And
Yeah,
there are times at schools, there's times where kids, they don't say anything. They're
yeah,
afraid to say something. They're afraid, they don't feel like they can't tell anybody. So
right.
that's one thing. We just need to be there to let them know. And like I always tell my kids, let me know.
Yeah,
Don't ever let nobody bully you, but I'm one person. Whereas I have heard those stories in schools where there are some schools that don't do anything. There are
mm,
some schools where kids get bullied and the school does nothing. So that's the problem. That's the
yes.
problem with their school, or they say, I can't. I've heard the stories. The school can't do anything. Oh, they didn't see it, or you have to do this. So to me, it starts at the head. It starts to me, if there is a bullying accusation, it has to be taken seriously because kids
Right.
are committing suicide because they
Yes.
do not like school is supposed to be a safe place,
Mhm.
and kids should not, and however they should not go to school. I got bullied in school, you know what I'm saying? So I did not want to go to school. I would cry, I would hide in the bathroom,
Mhm.
because I had to go to school. But
Right.
you shouldn't have to go to school and be afraid.
Right.
You shouldn't, but you can't stop bullying because there are just mean people. I'm just
Right.
gonna be honest. People are mean,
Yep.
people are miserable, and they're gonna bully you. but there has to be serious repercussions for those who do.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts at. So that's what I'm talking about. Campaigns,
Yes.
coming in, and there has to be serious consequences for
Mm,
those who are being bullied. And it
yeah.
has to be a safe place where kids can go and tell, and they won't feel bad or get repercussions. Because sometimes when kids do tell, that bully will go and just bully more.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And also too, the story that I read, Shawna, was a young boy. Same thing, and he
Mhm.
was bullied, and he wound up taking his life as well. And I'm so glad you brought that point up about campaigns and having those discussions and making it. And the word you keep using, which I love, is safe. Making
Mhm.
sure that school is a safe place because home for a lot of kids are not, but for most of kids is safe. Then to be able to come to school and not feel safe, that's not, that's not how it should be. That's not how it should be.
Yeah.
What are some of the other things that elementary school children go through? We've talked about bullying, of course, we talked about the shooting. What else do they go through that you find is hard for them to deal?
Um, So I've always worked in Title One schools. So Title One schools are schools that are like in low poverty, low income, you
Oh,
know, areas. So
okay.
not only you have to teach, but like I said, we have to be counselors, doctors. So we have kids that are, you know, in foster care, that's
Mm,
moved from home to home, that's been in like 5 different elementary schools. We had some kids that was there from September to November, left, and then came back January. Like they're moving around constantly. The kids in drug addict homes, like abusive homes, so I have kids that they don't know what they're going to eat the next day. You know what I'm saying? Their shoes are, you know, talking to you, so it's like, and I have parents that come to me and kids just trying to help. So it's not only they have to deal. So now you have kids that have to deal, worry about gun shooting. Then you have
right.
kids that have to worry about being bullied for how they look,
Yes.
or how they dressed, or that they can't read well. So they're getting bullied like that. Then they're expected to take these standardized tests and not doing well. And then they got to go home where there's no food. They got to go home where they're, don't know where their parents are, just moving from home to home. And, it's just, they're dealing with a lot, not
Yeah.
only just at home. Sometimes I had kids come into the classroom crying for what, I couldn't sleep last night of what went on, or, some kids are afraid to tell. I had one kid tell me, oh, the cops was at my house last night, so, you have kids coming in smelling like, you know, some medicinal things. So,
Right.
we have, so, these kids, they're in this environment, and then they have to come to school, and, and they're expected to learn, and then having to deal with all the other things
Yeah.
that they have to deal
Yeah.
with. So being young in this day and age, it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard.
You're right. And Shauna, that's so interesting. I'm glad you said that because I thought it was hard. I'm 56. And I thought when I was coming up, like to your point, I was
Yes.
bullied, how girls are in school. And I
Yeah.
thought that was rough. And I pray for all the parents, even my daughters who have children, because it is a hard day raising children, to your point, trying to keep them safe away from different things. It is definitely a different season from when we were coming up. If you had to say something, Shauna, to teachers, just say something to them to encourage them. Because I have something I want to say to you, but I want to let you say something to teachers to keep them encouraged in a day like today.
Oh, just keep the faith. And that's what I hold on to every day. I pray every morning, and I go into my classroom and I pray over my students. I pray over administration, because sometimes it's not the students, it's
Right.
them also, because it starts there in keeping our kids safe, and then it trundles down to us. Because
Yeah.
sometimes in what teachers do, it
Yeah.
can't always go all the way because administration tries to knock it down.
Got it.
So just a lot of teachers are leaving, but if you are a great teacher, we need you. Just just stay in the race.
Yeah.
It's not given to the swift nor to the strong,
Yeah.
but just stay in the race,
All right.
and it's very rewarding at the end. It is rewarding.
Well, I wanted to say to you, Sean, on behalf of Real Talk, the crew, everyone, I wanted to say thank you because as you're talking all throughout tonight's segment, I hear such passion that you have for teaching, but not just for teaching, for your children in your classroom. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being a voice. Thank you for being maybe a mom at that time to a child that doesn't have it. Just being able to be there for those children. Because again, I'm a grandmother and I can hear it. And I'm like, wow, I hope and pray that my grandchildren honestly have a teacher like you, somebody that is not about you in your career, but it's about what you do in your career. So on behalf of Real Talk, I just want to say thank you and to like you said, don't stop, keep going and keep making a difference, Shawna. You make such a difference.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you
what's
so
important.
much.
Yes. So on behalf of Real Talk and my team, we want to thank Shawna tonight because this was just so beautiful to sit and talk to her, but also it was such a heavy topic, and I feel almost like this. It's a sadness still that just
Yeah.
as we were talking about, it's like I don't feel, oh my God. No, I feel the sadness from the story that we talked about. But we want to thank Shawna tonight and for those teachers that are out there that are making a difference. So we ask that you join us again next week on Real Talk as we come together to talk about an issue that might just be interesting to you. Thank you again, Shawna, for being on Real Talk. We'll see you all
Thank you
next
for having me.
week.